Hi, let's learn how to turn a blank sheet of paper into a piece of treasure. In other words, we're going to learn how to draw with color pencils. It's going to be fun and easier than you imagine. We will draw this sunrise hibiscus. This is a photo by my friend Joey Tomas. We start by making a sketch of the subject matter, but we have to keep the pencil lines really light because we don't want the lines to show in the final drawing. And as you can see here, I use a gum eraser or a kneaded eraser to erase the lines that are too dark. Our color pencils must be sharpened because our initial lines will be light strokes, and we can only achieve that with the pencil slanted, because if we draw with the pencil upright, the lines will be too heavy or too dark. Okay, now we apply the first color, which is usually the lightest color in the subject matter, and we have to make that layer very thin or very soft. We can only achieve that with the pencil slanted. And if you notice, I made lines that lead to the center because the strokes must be going in one direction. And in the petal of almost every flower, the grain emanates from the center or leads toward the center. And then using strokes in one direction, you add more shading where it's needed. You can always refer to the picture that you're trying to copy. So you make some parts thicker in color. Next, we add even darker lines where texture is needed. It is always a texture that makes a flower drawing more interesting. Now you add the next color, and again start light and applying strokes in one direction. I don't know with other artists, but for me, I prefer to start with the leftmost part of the drawing because I'm right-handed, and I don't want my to put my right hand on top of the part that has already been drawn on, because my hand might cause the color to smudge. We add more pencil lines on the parts where we need shading. We add even darker lines for texture. These are actually the veins of the petal. We can copy the picture, but we don't have to be precise. We don't have to be 100% accurate. We add more heavy or dark lines on parts or details that we want to be seen. Drawing this part of the flower, it's the stigma or the stamen, it appears challenging. But don't be intimidated. It can be done easily. You start by coloring the light parts. On top of that, you layer the dark parts, which give you the texture. And a little later on, you will color around it. And you will achieve what appears to be difficult at first. On the next petal, you will once again draw lines to guide you in making strokes that lead to the center of the flower. And the first layer should be a thin layer. As mentioned earlier, we're going to color around the stamen and the stigma. Once again, we will add heavier strokes for shading and texture. We add another color, starting with a thin layer, and add heavier strokes for shading and shadows and texture. I forgot to mention that I would usually go petal by petal because after one petal, I stop and evaluate my progress. If I'm satisfied, I will proceed using the same technique and the same creative decisions. If I think I made some wrong moves, then I can adjust or discard the drawing while I haven't done so much work yet. along the edges of a petal or any element of the drawing for that matter, I usually ensure a thin white line to create separation. In nature and in a photo, the eye can detect that tiny detail of separation, but it's difficult to achieve in a drawing. So, uh, a line that separates the elements will really help in creating more detail and depth of the drawing. Once again here, I will ensure that the white line for separation, make it very thin. The last color that we add is the darkest color. In the picture, this part is black, but I'm not very comfortable using black because it can make the picture too dark, or if I make a mistake, it's hard to correct black because you cannot layer a lighter color on top of it. So I start by using dark brown, and I will make a decision later on if I need to make it even darker or eventually use black. And then the finishing touches. This is the part where we judge our own work and we decide if we need to add more colors to make the drawing more vivid, or we need to add heavier lines for details to stand out. And that's our output. A nice drawing that makes us feel good inside. Thank you for watching the video, and I hope that you really learned from it. If you become more interested in art, then I'd be happy to join you in your journey. I can create more videos. And just between us, I'd like to admit that I liken this to printing money, because the blank sheet of paper that you saw earlier now has value. There are so many people who actually pay for art. And the joy and the happiness that you get out of this is not necessarily the money, but the fulfillment in the fact that you can create something out of nothing. Drawing and painting are really nice hobbies to have. And I hope to see you soon in the coming tutorials. Once again, thank you for sharing this time with me.